Last time, we looked at textures, real-time cameras, and made 2 new exhibits. This time, we're looking at optimization. The source engine is fancy Quake. It uses BSP, binary space partitioning, to render a world by dividing up geometry into a series of chunks and distributing them into a data tree. Now, I don't fully understand how it works, but I do know this was a very efficient way to organize level geometry in early 3D games, as a computer could look up the BSP tree really quickly for visibility without complex calculations that modern game engines use. In the source engine, this is done with viz leaves. These are what portions of the BSP tree are made up of. To calculate this tree, a game level needs to be sealed. That's why an unsealed map creates a leak. It will still technically work in the engine, but because so much stuff is tied to the map being sealed, things like lighting and optimizations will break. There's lots of stuff I've already been doing to keep things optimized, like using font detail for brushes to stop generating too many viz groups I don't need, and using node draw for surfaces the player won't see. But there are some more ways to make this map run really well. Fog has a prop culling feature for anything beyond a certain range. There are other ways to hide props, but this is a good way to cover large open areas like outside. You can also set the fog up to be different in different parts of the map, but this can create problems with TF2 as the engineered teleporters will move players without them interacting with the trigger brushes that change the fog's appearance. I also went through and set up a fade in and fade out distance for props outside. This is useful as one of the drawbacks of BSP mapping is processing large areas outside like this. I did overdo it with some of the spawn props however. This for the most part isn't noticeable unless you're moving really fast. Most props have a level of detail as well. Now for some heavy duty optimizing. Area portals are a way of controlling what is visible and not visible in a map area. It culls both world geometry and props, improving performance by not showing what you can't see. This is a powerful optimization tool, but it has some restrictions. An area portal requires a sealed room to work. It's possible to have a leak in a map that would otherwise be sealed if not made correctly. So you can't just slap one in the middle of an open area. I tested this out using the crazy car gallery first. By using map wireframe 1 or 2, shows how much geometry gets culled by using area portals. Later on I went back and sealed up the ground floor exhibits in some boxes to add more optimization. I'll remake these a bit later to make them more interesting. Next up are hint brushes. Now the compiler can set up viz leaves by itself all fine, but sometimes a bit of a guiding hand can help with the process or make it choose better choices for dividing up the map. This isn't really for game optimization, but more for the compiler so it doesn't take too long to render everything. That's not to say there are no in-game improvements either, as wasteful viz leaves are culled. For large open areas this is very useful. I also switched to FiCool 2 ++ versions of the compiler tools, which both speed up compile times and add extra functions. There is a brush tool called Func Viz Cluster that squishes down viz leaves in an area, something I use for long 2-fort, but since I'm using vviz++, I don't need to do it. In fact, it's no longer supported in vviz++. I'm still not 100% sure what the skip texture is for. I think it's for if you want to use the hint brush to not use a face for whatever reason. Finally, in our piles of tools to use for optimization is occluders. These are sometimes called anti-portals in other game engines, as they hide props but not level geometry. The upside is, unlike area portals, they can basically be set up anywhere. Also, I forgot to mention this, but I redid all the buildings around the outside to look a lot better. Also, why I sound really croaky in this recording, I must have been a bit sick. Now, I had an idea to kill two birds with one stone. These walls are a lot of polygons getting rendered that can't be culled outside. Or can they? I had a plan. First up, let's make a skybox. I created the top of the buildings, kept them in a separate viz group, and scaled them down. I placed the sky camera in the middle of the map and used it as a reference point. Hammer++ has a cool feature where you can trial the skybox if you make it into an instance. An instance is like a separate map file that gets placed inside another map. This can make mapping easier and is probably something I should use more. The first test shows some errors with micro brushes as everything was too small and I had to match the skybox fog setting with the map ones. But now it's time to introduce you to Proper. Proper is a programming tool that converts hammer brushes into source engine props. By converting the brushes on the sides into props, the occluder will hide them and really optimize this outside area. Inbuilt into Hammer++ is another cool special version called Proper++ that makes the process very smoother and adds AO baking as an option, among many other things. I did have some lighting issues. At first I thought it was because I was placing or making props against a brick of no draw textures, but it appears just to be the way it is. After messing around some rendering settings, I got it looking okay. Not great, but good enough. This will be made into a make it better later problem. And I think this will do for now. Next time I would like to work on some fancy teleporter stuff and make more things to look at. Off I go. Whee! Teleport sound effect.